Hello, my friends. Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa Stringworks Man Cave. And had a busy weekend. I didn't think I had very much content for today, but actually I do. I've got a number of videos here, short videos that I can show you. I also have a new toy I'm going to show you. And just for your information, our AC technicians are here today, and they'll be changing out the coil to our AC unit. This has been 2 or 3 years in the making here. You know, the old Rosa Luck thing. This new air conditioner outside unit, it's I don't know, it works great when it works, but then it quits working, you know. And so they're here today basically changing out the guts of that unit. So you might hear a noise or two. Just thought I'd let you know that so you know what it is in case you do. I also wanted to say thanks for all the support for these live programs that we've done. There's been lots of, you know, like when the band was here the last time, lots of you support it financially, and that's what makes it worth doing for everybody, really. Me personally, I don't much care about the money. I really don't. You may disagree or believe differently, but I personally don't care at all. But some of them drive quite a long distance, and not everybody feels the same way about the money that I do, you know. And the fact that you guys do support it is the reason that that's continuing to go ahead and go. The reason we keep doing it. And if it weren't for that, I would imagine that would have dried up by now. Over the weekend, we did play another live show at the Macedonia Baptist Church out of Rolla, and a couple of you asked that we record that, and so I did put the camera out there and I did record the whole show. I think it went pretty well, and the recording turned out maybe a little better than I was expecting. I'll play you one tune off of it today just so you can hear it and decide whether you want me to put a whole video out on that or not. And the way I'm gonna look at this is silence is just a vote against it. So unless I see a lot of comments about it, I'm probably not going to take the time to edit it and put it out there. So if you think it's worth watching, then say something. If you rather not watch it, or if it's something you know you're not going to watch, then don't vote, you know. And then I'll know that silence is golden, you know, and I'll just not take the time to edit it and put it out there. But anyway, we had a good time at the show. It turned out pretty well, and I think everything went fine. In other news, Becca got wedded over the weekend. It was a nice, very nice wedding, outdoor wedding, and it's at Sue's nephew has a wedding venue in like near Cuba, Missouri, Bourbon, Missouri, near that area. And anyway, it's a real nice area, and that's where the wedding was held, and turned out really good. So more things to come, I guess, on that down the road. I mentioned I have a new toy. I'll just go ahead and show you that. Here it is. You might say, what the heck is that thing? It's a night vision goggles. That night vision scope I have is actually really good. In fact, it's quite a bit better than this, I think. But the problem with the night vision scope, you're holding up the whole air rifle, and that thing is super heavy. It's heavier than any other rifle or shotgun or anything I have. It's heavier than all of those combined, really. It's super heavy. So that thing's just not comfortable to hold up and scan the areas when you're out night hunting or whatever, or like hunting for the rats in the barn or whatever. So this is the alternative to that, and it has the night vision and everything. But it's not what I was expecting, to be truthful. I bought it online. It has a good rating, and it works well. But I was expecting to do this, have it up to my eyes like that. And it's not like that. You just basically look at a screen. So I don't know, it's a little less than desirable for what I was expecting, but it seems to work pretty good, and I think it'll do what I want to do, so we'll see how that goes. This was not expensive at least compared to all the rest of the stuff I bought. It was, I don't remember what I paid for it. I think it was in the $50 range. It wasn't much. So you can't expect much for $50, I don't think. Not these days, anyway. Let's see. I have a short video about finding bottles here on the farm. This is just the result of finding the bottles. My oldest granddaughter, Kaylee, she's kind of gotten into that as like just collecting them and just the unique look of them and decorating with them and those kinds of things. So here's that little short clip. Our oldest granddaughter, Kaylee, has gotten into hunting for old bottles. And these are some of the old bottles she's found here on the farm, digging around in the different dumps and things. Here's an old gas cap off of an old, probably a truck or something. And these are some, you know, just like whiskey bottles and different things. I'm sure it's what they are. Several of them say wine on them. I'm sure that's whiskey. Here's one that's kind of decorative. It's got a design on it. And this one says Garrett and Company Incorporated, Virginia Dare Wine, New York. So some pretty interesting old bottles. Anyway, she's really getting into it quite a bit. There's several places on the farm where you can actually dig old bottles. I thought this was one of the most interesting things I saw. It says, Sustaining Member, Missouri Crime Prevention Bureau, number 64. Now, I can't find anything on this. I've imaged it, you know, and searched it via Google on the image. And you find plenty of shields like this, but finding anything out about the Missouri Crime Prevention Bureau has proved, unsuccessful. Anyway, there's lots of bottles there and stuff. I'll show you one more I think she's got in here. Sue thinks this one's really cool just by the looks of it. Again, it's just the fanciness. You know, you don't see bottles like this made very often anymore. And this one says Bardenheyer, or Bardenheil, I'm not really sure. And again, I think it's wine based on the looks of it. A lot of the bottles are 30s, 40s type things. This is some of the byproducts they found while they were searching for the bottles. Just miscellaneous stuff. That's off of a lantern. I don't know what the rest of these parts are. Not doing very good with the camera here. I have to zoom it in a little bit so that it doesn't have that little shadow thing on the screen. And when I zoom in, it's hard to hold it steady. So I apologize, but it is what it is. Anyway, those things here. This one looks a little vaguely familiar. I can't really figure out what that is. If anybody knows, be sure to say so. Just miscellaneous stuff found while she was searching. Yeah, so there's every opportunity. I do the metal detecting and she's out there hunting the glass. So I think I found a couple of other places with my metal detector where they've dumped bottles years ago. Now, one of the common things on bottles, and some of you probably already know this, but old outhouse pits. Now, I haven't found an outhouse pit on the farm, but if you knew where those are, that's where you'll find a lot of old bottles. And if it's over 100 years old, it's not too bad to dig it anymore. It doesn't seem like an outhouse anymore after 100 years, but it's just the thought of it. Now, like I said, I haven't found a spot like that yet, but I have found a ditch or two where they've thrown bottles in and things like that. And that's where she's presently looking, in those kinds of places. Let's see. In terms of the Polaris Ranger, I've got about a 5 or 6 minute video here for you, which I think is self-explanatory. So take a look. Well, my friends, I've got the batteries charged up and I hooked them back together. So now we know that that's fairly good, or at least I believe it is. And what I'm going to do now, I've got the problem with this not starting narrowed down in my mind to either the fuel injectors or the fuel pump. So if we take this off, and I think we can, just pull this up and then hopefully work this off the end here. Well, I don't want to drop it. There it is. Now, when I turn the key on, we should see if fuel's coming out of there. Yep, that's coming out of there. So I say the fuel pump's working. Now, do I also understand? Yes, I do. That doesn't prove that it's working under pressure. You know, in other words, it may not have enough pressure, but for the moment, we're going to say that the fuel pump's working. So the next thing we're going to try to do is to take up this whole rig here and see if the injectors are firing. So give me a minute here to get that ready. Well, my friends, I'm not recommending that anybody else try this test, but I'm going to give it a shot. I have this board laying here just to hold these in place because they're wanting to flop back over here. So that's the only reason that's there. I have each injector wire tied in with a wire tie here to this frame so it won't go blowing off because there's a lot of pressure there. I don't know. Like I said, this may be a stupid test, but I'm going to turn on the key here and see what happens. And I'd say nothing happens. There you go. You could tell the pressure came in there. Now, where's my problem? Is it that the injectors are blocked and they're not letting fuel come through? Or is it that the fuel pump doesn't have enough pressure? In order to progress to the next step in diagnosing the problem with the Ranger, I needed a fuel pressure tester. And of course, there's no way to adapt this easily to the Ranger. So I found out what the threads are in this, and I have a bolt with the same thread pitch chucked up in this chuck here. And now I'm going to turn this off smooth, and I'm going to turn a barbed end on it like this so I can put a hose on there and clamp the hose on, and then I'll drill a hole through this so that it can get into this. So it's complicated, but that's what I'm doing. Ain't never anything simple when I'm involved. Well, I measured it at 375 thousandths, which is 3/8 of an inch. So we're going to try to turn this down to that same amount. Hey, that's 2 hose barbs right there. That ought to be enough for what I'm doing. I'm just doing a real quick test. You know, if I was going to make it permanent, I'd make, you know, more barbs perhaps. But I think we're good for what we're doing. Okay, I think we're ready to start drilling the hole. I'm just going to use this center drill first and get it marked. I think we're through. Yep, we're through. Well, there you go, my friends. There's my adapter. A hole all the way through.
And we should be able to hook the hose on this end and the gauge on this end, and theoretically it ought to work. Well, my friends, I've got this engineered here to the point where it should possibly work. And I say possibly because I don't know, I haven't tried it yet. I'm going to turn the key on, and I'm hoping this goes up between in the upper 30s, low 40s is where I'm looking for. I hope it goes there. If it doesn't, we need a fuel pump. Uh-oh, it blew something loose. Okay, I know what blew loose. Never mind. We'll be back here in a second when I do it right. Okay, let's try this a second try. Now, what happened was I didn't have the bolt in there holding this whole head on the injectors, so the injectors just blew off because of all the pressure. So anyway, I've got the bolt in there now. It should hold on. So let's turn this on, and we're looking for really close to 40 pounds. We're good. It's exactly what we should have. So the fuel pump is good. It's the injectors that are bad. I wasn't 100% sure, but that's what I was suspecting. So we're going to order new injectors. The reason, because see, I've taken this off and tried it with this off, and it won't, I mean, it builds pressure, but it won't blow through the injectors. So since it's not coming through the injectors, that's where our bottleneck is.
Injectors have been ordered. They should be here tomorrow, so hopefully I'll be able to put that back together and get the Ranger back on the road again. So anyway, at least that's what I think the problem is. It's hard to tell, but just when you think you know everything about something like that, it'll fool you. But as far as I can tell, that's where the problem is. Okay, well, the live show video, here it is. So this is your sample to decide whether you want to see the rest of it or not. And again, it doesn't hurt my feelings if you don't vote for it. I mean, if you stay silent, I'll just know, well, we're not interested. And that's fine. So here we go.
Somewhere beyond the grave, there is a land that Jesus went to prepare by his own hand, and for the saved by grace, there is a resting place, and in a few more days, it will be mine. Some call it heaven, I call it home, some call it dreaming, so let me dream on. Some call it paradise, somewhere beyond the sky, some call it heaven, I call it home. Someone said you can't go back home again, and that things will not ever be as good as they've been. Well, I've got good news for you. When heaven comes into view, one glimpse and you'll know the best is yet
got so much on the screen I had to scroll it back up to find the camera. Anyway, yeah, we had a good time there. Everything seemed to go pretty well. I think I was the only one that made any mistakes, but that's kind of normal for me. Let's see. I think that's pretty much everything. Let's go to the comments and see what's going on today. Ronald Todd says, good afternoon, Jerry and everyone from the West Banks of New Jersey. Dottie's in there today. Hope you're doing good, Dottie. Been praying for you. Brian Byler says, hello from sunny Ohio. B.H. Ringers from Nova Scotia. Dottie's praying for us. Thank you, Dottie. Eddie Turner, good afternoon. And let's see. There's Joe Nigan again. I'm just looking for the question marks now. Bill Rhodes says, good afternoon. I was just wondering if you could do the song by Stephen Wood, Thank God I'm Pretty. I'll look into it. Thank God I'm Pretty. Stephen Wood. I do know that he's a really good singer, and his wife is very, very good also. I'm not familiar with that particular song, I don't think. Let's see. Moving on down, again, mostly just looking for a question mark. So if I'm passing your comments, that's because I don't see any question marks. Let's BMW 65 Stringworks says, good afternoon, Jerry and friends. Let's see. After we went live, Ronald Todd was the first one in there. And then David Tharp says, did you know you shouldn't brush your teeth with your left hand? Scientific research has confirmed it works better if you brush your teeth with a toothbrush. It's probably what I'm doing wrong. Gino Hitch, Jerry and friends. Let's see. Russell Allen says, hello from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Yeah, Russell was here, as you saw on our live last Thursday evening with all the different friends, just trying to make something out of, everybody had their own ideas, and we're all played different genres of music, but we came together, that universal language, and we did something. Paul Lanier says, Jerry, I'm not a fan of through bridge saddles now. Can you tell why it came to be versus pocket drop-in saddles? Well, the long saddle spreads your sound out a little bit better. That saddle that is what transfers your vibration of your string down into your bridge and then to your top. And having that longer saddle just gives you a little bit better chance of a better transfer, And that's why some people like the longer saddles. That's the theory behind it. And I don't know if there's a whole lot to it, to be truthful. I'll be honest, in a blind test, I'm not sure I could tell the difference. But for my money, if I'm building one, I'm probably going to build it with the pocket type saddle. It's just the way I particularly do it, but I do think the long saddle is fine. I don't have anything against it. It's a little bit more complicated in one way, and then in another way it's simpler. So I mean, there's pros and cons on both of them, to be honest with you. Eddie Turner, Jerry, we can fast forward through the silent parts of your video, of the music video, is what he's talking about there. Well, thanks. Russell Allen says, I'm for any live music that you have, so my vote is not a silent vote. Go for it. Well, thank you. Spike Moto says, I'm thinking about driving out there to see you. Are you going to be there on October 13th and 14th, Monday and Tuesday? And the answer is, I think so. The 15th, I'll be playing a show for the kids at the St. James Elementary School, and if I wasn't trying to think of the name of that school, I could tell you, but I can't tell you because I'm trying to think of it. Anyway, but we'll be on the 15th. I'll be out of pocket in most all of the morning. But then on the 16th, then we're heading down to Mountain View, Arkansas. Boy, there's a bunch of us going to Mountain View this time, so this would be a good time to go if you're interested in going at all. And as I said, there's other things to do during the day when we're not playing or whatever. There's quite a few, shops in the town there that are interesting, like antique vintage type shops. Then there's just out of town, there's Blanchard Springs, which is a good place to go picnic or just be out in nature. It's just a good thing to look at, the big spring there boiling up. And then there's I don't know the name of the cave, but I assume it's Blanchard Caverns is what I think it is, because it's right by the spring area there. It's not far from it. So anyway, there's things to do, and there's a number of, there's a music store, there's a dulcimer shop, and I don't know, there's an old country general store to look, to take a look, walk through that. So there's a lot to do in Mountain View if you're interested in going. It's I wouldn't call it a big tourist trap, but it's kind of like a small tourist trap, if you will. Let's see, Spike Moto, I'm thinking of, okay, that's the one I just read. Let's see. So as far as I know, Spike will be here, I think. I don't have my calendar handy because it's over there plugged in, but as far as I know, we should be here Monday and Tuesday, because I was planning to use those days more or less to get ready to go down to Mountain View. Paul Lanier says the first found item is a spanner wrench for a hand grinder. Well, I thought it looked like something similar to a spanner type deal, but I didn't have any idea what it might go on. A hand grinder, huh? Okay, cool. Mark Nesm says, sorry I'm late. Hello, everyone. Well, glad to hear from you, Mark. Bill Mombo, maybe a potato peeler. It resembles mine. Yeah. I don't think it had any sharp edges on it. I'd have to go look at it again, but I think it was all squared off, so I don't think it would peel anything. Russell Allen says, that one item that you said you weren't sure looks like a spanner wrench. Yeah, I kind of think we're in the ballpark there on the spanner wrench idea. Me personally, I've never seen anything, I can't think of anything that uses a spanner wrench that looks just like that, but the idea there with the hand grinder sounds good. Bill Rose says, Jerry, I'm sorry, I just sent my song I request play pretty. I mean to say free. Meant to say free. So thank God I'm free. Is that what you're trying to say there? I think that's what you're saying. All right. Well, I'll look that up and see. Bill Mumbo says maybe a tiny catapult. Paul Lanier, going about the little farm, I picked old bottles and napped the bottles into arrowheads and other items like heart-shaped example. Yeah, well, that's cool. I don't really do any napping to speak of. I have done a little bit of flint napping, or at least rock napping. I don't know that it was necessarily flint. It was probably chert. Mark Nasm says, update, Yolanda's brand new motor from Ford is installed and done. Well, good. And transmission is done in my van, and roof is done. Things are looking up. Well, that's good to hear. I'm glad to hear that for you. I know you guys went through the heck for a while there. It was a mess for quite a while. And I hope you're feeling better, Mark. Hope everything's going good on your health end also. Rick Casada says, I bought some batteries, but they weren't included, so I had to go buy some more. Yeah, nothing includes batteries. Yeah. Let's see. Moving on down. Ah, it scrolled on me. Now I got to find it again. Dang, it must have went further than I thought it will. Okay, Paul Lanier says, Jerry, curious if the cart motor has a fused or relay separate for the injectors. I never thought about a fuse on that. I should have, because there's wires to it, so I'll try to go check that out. I ordered the injectors. They were cheap anyways, only like $25, so it's not like it's a big deal one way or the other, but that's a good idea. I'll check and see if there is a fuse issue. I didn't even cross my mind, Paul, so thanks for saying that. Bill Mumbo, we want more music. Well, good. Kim Z says, I like it. David Tharp, I changed my password to incorrect. That was if I enter it wrong, the computer reminds me and it says your password is incorrect. But now you're telling the whole world what it is. Doggone. You're not thinking, Dave. Daddy says, live music is always home run. Well, good. Not nice, Jerry. Yes, I would like to see the video. Okay. B.H. Ringer, a man asked me for $1. I told him I only carry big bills. He asked for one of those. I gave him my electric bill. Dang, I wish I'd meet that guy. Our electric bill was $570-some. Now, that includes our internet, though, and the internet's shy of $100. It's almost $100. So the electric was 400 and something. 470 or something like that. Ulysses Hale, the video looks good. My wife and I would like to see it. Okay. Well, thank you. David Tharp, I think we'd like to hear the rest of the live show, but I'm going to be out of the country. I need a hall pass starting tomorrow for a week. Wow. Where are you going out of the country? My goodness. Betty D, I bet you're going looking for itchy boots, aren't you, over there in Afghanistan? Did you see her in Afghanistan? Oh, my gosh, all the Taliban guys. Sorry, but she got way more guts or she's just nuts, one of the two. She's either got guts or she's nuts. I'm telling you, that's a place I don't think I need to be. That's just the way I feel about it. Betty D says she'd like to see the concert. BMW 65 says I'd watch the full video. Okay. Yes, show it. Okay. Russell Allen, yes, post. Okay. Bo Horn, music is great. Put out the video. Okay. Cup Cool, the live music was wonderful. And okay, well, thanks. Okay, there's quite a few votes there. John Mason, Sharon Peterson. Well, that's good to hear, I guess. I'll probably go ahead and put that out then. I honestly, you may think, oh, you're just looking for pat on the back or something, and that's not it. I don't know if you want to see it or not. That's the truth of it. I just don't know. Hugh O'Connor, many years ago, I spent the summer school holidays on the farm, I guess. My brother worked and was tasked with finding bottles for which I got either 3D or 6D per bottle. Live performance, yes. Cool. My mom Kaylee, it skipped a generation. I mean, I kind of liked looking for old bottles too. I've done that too, but my mom just really enjoyed that. She used to find the ones that had the potassium, I think it was, in the glass, and they would turn purple if you set them in the window. I think that was potassium that was in there, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, you dig them out of the ground, they'd be clear, but you'd set them in the window where the sun would hit them, and they would turn purple over time. I could tell they turned. I don't know that and I'll be honest, the purple that I see, they look like they were purple. I don't know if it's the same purple you see or not, but I could tell they turned colors for sure. And Walt Willard says music. Gino Hitch voting for it, looks like. Gary Hayes, yes, good. Yeah, well, William Church, great. Lynette Landry, cool. Ronald Todd, glad to hear things are looking up for you and Yolanda. Yeah, he's talking to Mark. Let's see. Yeah, ND Rough Rider says to see it. Okay, well, I'm going to take that as a positive. I guess we'll go ahead and try to put that out for everybody. David says he's going on a cruise to the Bahamas. Oh, my goodness. I thought you were going to be flying somewhere. It's something real exotic like, Well, the Bahamas are pretty exotic, but I thought you'd fly there. Did you see that Mike Patey bought him what is it called? An albatross, I think it is. It's one of those flying boats type deals. It's a great big one, It's a great big one. He's going to convert it to like a camper, and I don't know. He's got more money than Carter's got liver pills, and he's going to make a big video series about converting this albatross into some high-tech camper, basically, and fly it and land it out in the Caribbean or wherever he wants to land it, I guess. It sounds pretty cool. And ND Rough Rider says, see the whole show. Let's see. Ronald Todd, David Thorpe, let's see, Roger Werby. Okay, good. Yeah, Ronald Todd says, Itch has no fear. I hope she stays safe. Me too. Because obviously, like we all know, her videos are a couple of weeks behind, so all I can base anything on is what I saw in the last video, and yeah, it don't look good to me. It just don't look. And I tell you what would drive me nuts. I mean, it actually would. I'd probably have a nervous breakdown over it. Is going through the customs and the borders and stuff. It is just mass chaos. That would drive me insane. I'm not good with that kind of thing. That right there would kill it for me. If nothing else, that would kill it. Golly, that would drive me nuts. Paul Lanier, chromic salts in glass make different tints, colors. Okay. Cup Cool. Aren't some old bottles used for slides on guitars? Yeah, that has been done. Bottlenecks and things, they use it that way. Bill Momo says, thumbs up, guys. I appreciate it if you would do the thumbs up thing. We got 115 viewers at the moment. Rick Casada, the officer asked if I knew I was doing 50 miles an hour in a 30 mile an hour zone. I said yes, but I wasn't planning on driving that long. Well, there you go. There's always a way around it, isn't there? Well, guys, I'm going to let that be it, and I'm going to, I'm probably going to go down and check that fuse thing on the Polaris, because that's an idea. I hadn't thought of that, and I kind of doubt that's it, to be honest with you, because it kind of, I don't think it's a fuse, because it didn't just abruptly stop. It gave me trouble for a day or so, and then, it started and ran, but barely, for a time or two. So I doubt it's a fuse, but it might be. You never know. I don't know. I don't know anything about that stuff. And it might be that it was just working on pure pressure there for a day or two without the fuse, Who knows? So I'll check that in just in case, because you never know. But thanks, guys. I will see you tomorrow with something else.